Dominating most of the front pages this morning, newly released emails claiming that President Trump spent hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with Virginia Roberts, now Virginia Giuffre. I'm joined by Sonali Shah and our royal editor, Russell Myers. Russell, 20,000 pages of documents that, well, you know, as expected, Trump and the man who's now called Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor are mentioned quite a lot.
Well, they are indeed. Good morning, Lorraine. And not only this sort of 20,000 pages, but it's a rather long period of time as well. It's about over a decade. And of course, we have been used to Prince Andrew, the former prince, now Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, being involved in this scandal. However, Donald Trump has been on the periphery of it. There's been calls for him to release some of these documents, and we've got some of them overnight released by the Democrats. Now, these relate to emails suggesting Trump knew about the conduct of Jeffrey Epstein. And some of them that we've sort of picked out, released by the Democrats. There's one specifically in 2019 from Epstein to the author Michael Wolff, suggesting that Trump knew about the girls and had asked Ghislaine to stop. Now, Ghislaine is Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Prince Andrew's friend from years gone by, and Epstein's former lover. There are also other emails. We go back to 2011, and 2011 is a key date because it's after Epstein was convicted, and Prince Andrew had said in his Newsnight interview that he cut contact with Jeffrey Epstein around 2010, but we know from previous releases that he was still in contact with him then. And so Epstein writes to Ghislaine Maxwell around this time, suggesting that Trump had spent hours with a victim of his at one of his houses. The email says, "I want you to realise that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump." And there was a name redacted, saying that person spent hours at my house with him. Now, we know overnight that the White House have confirmed that that name redacted does relate to Virginia Giuffre, who sadly took her life earlier on in the year. Now, Virginia Giuffre had always said that Trump had treated her very well. She'd been a former employee of his and said that they'd always had good exchanges when they'd met. However, it really does beg the question as to how sort of deep this does go, sort of with Epstein's associations with politicians and members of the royal family. And I don't think this is going away anytime soon for these individuals.
No, we keep saying that, don't we? We really do, Sonali. I mean, Virginia Giuffre, I spoke to the co-author of her book. It's a desperately sad read. It's a desperately sad life that she had, but she did maintain that Trump was nice to her. It's what nice meant. We don't know.
And the White House overnight, after all this was out, the press secretary, you had the press secretary coming out saying, look, these emails have been selectively released by the House Democrats to liberal media, as they call them, to smear Trump. So they've come out on that defence. Right. And then you've also had President Trump reopen the government effectively. They've had the longest government shutdown in American history, 43 days. And he signed a bill last night. And I think it suited his narrative too, didn't it? He's trying to get this open. He's saying, look, you can say what you want here. This is what I'm doing here. And that means that thousands of those federal employees that have been working without pay, or they've been furloughed, or they've been laid off, the government has now been reopened. So I think they're trying to sort of change the conversation.
We sort of forgot about that in a way, didn't we? You know, it's like it basically wasn't functioning.
No.
But there was so many other things go on. You know, it's like a magician. That's happening, but look over here.
Yes.
Look over here at this. And then this is happening. Oh, but look over here at that. So it's quite bizarre. What we did learn was that photograph that keeps saying Prince Andrew, it's not Prince Andrew. Andrew always maintained that one there. Was doctored in some way, or it wasn't real, or he doesn't remember, or blah, blah, blah. But that actually we now know, we are told that is true. That was a photograph.
And a lot of the details coming out with these emails will have legal ramifications, because in the sense that it confirms things, it proves things, it doesn't prove other things. But I'm wondering, in the general public, how much of it really changes perception of what you may already think about Donald Trump, or what you already may think about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. Because while legally these have importance, are the general public looking at the details of this? This was said at this day, and so, you know, so many emails were released last night. Are the general public looking at that level of detail.
I think we've made up our minds who we think and know are the villains in this, no matter what they say.
It's murky water.
It's absolutely disgusting. It really is. What was interesting, Russell, was there was an email from Andrew back then saying, well, you know, I've had enough of this. I can't cope with this anymore. It's the one time I think we've ever heard him sound like a human being.
Well, it's certainly, you know, people playing a PR game, I would say, and certainly the White House were doing that last night, saying that any of these emails sent don't prove anything. That Donald Trump was innocent. He'd never had any dealings with any of these people. But the email you're referring to is very, very interesting as well, because Prince Andrew had said in his Newsnight interview that he cut contact with Jeffrey Epstein in 2010 when he went to visit him in New York. There was emails released a couple of weeks ago where Andrew was emailing Epstein in February 2011. Now, there is another one indeed. It's dated from 2011, and it's Andrew saying, you know, I don't know anything about this. This has nothing to do with me. I can't take any more of this. Now, this relates to the business of the photograph that had been revealed by the Mail on Sunday in 2011, where the key date here is because that date was after Jeffrey Epstein had been convicted of those sex offences. So it kind of blows Andrew's case wide open. First of all, he said he hadn't had contact with Jeffrey Epstein. And secondly, both he and Ghislaine Maxwell have questioned the veracity of that photo. In the Newsnight interview, he said, you know, it could have been doctored, it could have been a fake. Well, the fact that Epstein is saying that that photograph was real is very, very interesting and sort of muddies the waters even further for Andrew.
It's so murky. It really is. I mean, either he's a liar or he's profoundly stupid or he's both. But of course, he maintains his innocence all the way along. But you're right. All the detail of this, there's a danger that people just go, I don't want to hear any more about this. I've had enough of this. You know, that's it. I already know what I think, and you know, it doesn't really matter.
And who they're choosing to believe, because as you say, that email about the photo, the email says, yes, Virginia was on the plane, and yes, she had her picture taken with Andrew, as many of my employees have, so confirming. But some people will still choose not to believe that side of things, and I think that's what's interesting about the way things are in public now, is that if you believe a certain thing, something can come out and you're
it's this thing, isn't it, Sonali? It's this thing about my truth. There's only the truth. There isn't your truth, my truth, that person down the road's truth.
But what you have is the US president talking about people out to get him and fake news. And
that has made things terribly difficult for all sorts of organisations, not least the BBC. Thank you very much indeed. And Russell, thank you as well for your thoughts. Always good to hear from you. Well, that's a wrap for this video. We hope you enjoyed it. We have all the best moments from the show right here on the channel. And if you like this video, then we think you'll love this one. See you next time.